Hello and welcome to the Sharpshooter Sports Edition. Today my guest is Coach Steve. How did you get started with football?
Um, like since I was a little kid, as far back as I can remember, just sports in general was always on TV. My dad, whenever there's sports on, we'd watch. We'd sit there and watch with him, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, and then also growing up, they had season tickets for University of Hawaii football games, so they'd take us to that and any type of high school sports. My dad went to St. Louis, so he'd always take us to St. Louis games or any type of high school football games that was happening that weekend. We'd go, and it's kind of always been ingrained in us. My dad was a football player when he was growing up. He played at St. Louis in Hawaii, and then he played at the University of Miami back in the '70s. So it's kind of always been part of our lives.
Oh, Ollie, Gung Gung went to St. Louis. His grandfather went to St. Louis too. So we'll have to find out some more info on your dad. Maybe they were classmates or something. So
Sure.
that's cool.
Yeah, he was a '72 grad, so
Okay, I'll have to write that down. We'll ask Gung Gung later. His mom's dad. So
awesome.
we got the St. Louis connection right there.
Can
No
you
doubt.
tell us about your playing career?
Sure. So I went to Kamehameha High School, although, everyone in my family went to St. Louis. So I ended up there. I played, first of all, I started playing football when I was 9. I played Pop Warner for in Hawaii for the Kalani Falcons for 2 years. And then that was Pee-wees, 9 and 10-year-olds. And then 11 and 12-year-olds, I played for Kapahulu Raiders. And then after that, started at Kamehameha, playing intermediate up to JV and then varsity. Um, Funny story, I got cut my sophomore year from the varsity. So I played JV freshman and sophomore year. And then junior and senior year, played varsity and got recruited and ended up choosing to go play at the University of Wisconsin, Madison. So was there for 4.5 years. Graduated high school 2001, and then was in Madison from 2001 to 2005. And from there, I was a undrafted free agent, unfortunately, but that's how life goes. You just roll with the punches. And so I bounced around the NFL for 6 years with 7 different teams. 2006, I was an undrafted free agent to the St. Louis Rams at the time. Got cut after training camp, didn't sign anywhere. Ended up playing in NFL Europe that spring, which was spring of 2007. Spent 10 weeks. It was actually about 3 months to 4 months in Europe. Played for the Amsterdam Admirals, and the other 5 teams in the league were all located in Germany: Berlin, Dusseldorf, Frankfurt, Cologne. But came back after that, went back to St. Louis, and then got fired. Pretty much fired. When you get cut, you get fired at the end of training camp, preseason, and then they re-signed me to the practice squad later that season. I think it was like week 8 or so, and spent the rest of the season on the practice squad there. And that was my second year. But you know what? I got cut from there like a week into training camp, and went to Pittsburgh like 2 days later, and I was with the Steelers and finished preseason there in 2007. And then talked about the practice squad in 2008. Went back, re-signed with St. Louis. Got cut at the end of camp. Then I ended up in Seattle for the last 4 weeks of that season. And then the following offseason, I signed with Arizona. That was 2009. Went into camp there. They cut me a week into camp, and then that's when I ended up in Chicago, like a week later, and spent the whole season in Chicago. I was on the practice squad for that whole season, 2009. And 2010, I signed with Tampa Bay late in the spring. Went into camp. Actually made the team out of camp, and I was waiver wire cut, which means, they make the team. So the 53-man roster is made, and then there's a waiver wire where everyone else that gets cut goes into this waiver wire, and anybody can get picked to, so they grabbed someone off the waiver wire that played my position and ended up getting cut later that afternoon, which was a rough, tough situation, and ended up going back to Tampa that year for 2 games active. One of them, the second game that I was there, was against Detroit, and it was pretty cool because my brother played there. And then the next year, I went into training camp with the Redskins, got cut at the end of the preseason, played in another league for that season, and then that was pretty much it for my playing career.
Oh, sounds like a crazy journey.
Yeah, it was a great journey. You live and learn a lot along the way. It was great experiences. Took me all over the world, as you can tell.
Wow.
Europe.
And that kind of leads us into our next question for you.
How did you get into coaching?
So at the end of my playing career, I moved back home to Hawaii, and was kind of not stressed, but trying to figure out what was next. And everything led me back to football. That's really my only passion and in life, and really the only thing I really know how to do, really that I'm really good at. So and the second part of getting to coaching was just finding a way to give back. There's so many people that when I was coming up as a football player that helped me achieve what I got to achieve. And in my mind, I thought this is a way for me to give back, and kind of help people. And what better way to do it than with doing it with something that I truly love, in football. So.
Awesome.
How is how important is practice?
When I was a player, I hated practice. I thought, like I just wanted to play in the games. But as I grew as a player, like I got older in college, and then when I got to the NFL, you realize how important it is. And now as a coach, preparation is everything. From how you organize your week, and how you set up practice as a coach, and then as a player, like how are you preparing yourself? Is there a system? Is there a process that you go through? And a lot of times when you get to the game, you want to feel so prepared for anything that could happen. There's a lot of different things that come up in the game, but when you go in the game, you're so prepared that anything that happens, you've done it, you've seen it, you've put yourself through it in practice.
Yeah, I think it's the same with Ollie. Practice isn't as fun as the game, but it's so important, right, Ollie?
Yes. What is harder, playing or coaching?
I think they're both really hard. As a player, you have to prepare yourself it's a year-round job. You prepare yourself starting the off season with your workouts, lifting weights, especially like for the demands of being an offensive lineman. You prepare yourself for all the beatings that you take, so starting the weight room, I being an offensive lineman, I look at it as being like you're like a power lifter. You build your body up, and once the season rolls around, you're strong, and everything that could happen, like whether you're getting, you're blocking somebody, you get hit from the side. There's a lot of things that happen in the game. And if your body's not prepared for those physical beatings, that's where injuries happen. And then, the preparation as a player, studying your opponent, it's like a chess match. The defense is trying to do things to you, and you got to kind of be smart to see, from offensive lineman perspective, to see what's going on and happen in front of your face, So, and then as a coach, it's just how do I keep it simple for the players while preparing them for everything that could possibly happen. So and keeping it simple, you want them to go out there and play fast and not have to think and you're just playing, and you're prepared. You've prepared the players for being able to see everything that could happen in a game. I think the aspect of losing is equally hard. As a player, you feel like your preparation failed, and as a coach, you feel like your game plan failed. When you lose, there's always things that happen in a game where you wish when you lose, you wish you could have back, but you can't. So I think that's equally hard in that aspect.
That's some great insight there. All right, Ollie, what else you got lined up here?
What's your favorite part of football?
Um, I'd have to say for one, this is two for me. One is the violence of it. I always looked at football as a game of, a 12-round fight, boxing match, or an MMA, a five-round title fight. And at some point, at some point, someone's going to give in, whether that's you or the man across from you. I think, and that's what's lost. Sometimes people don't. But at the end of the day, when the most violent team on the field usually wins. The team that hits you the most. The team that's willing to physically try to dominate people. And that's always going to be that way. And then the second part, I look at football as the ultimate team sport. There's 11 guys on the field. What other sport? I mean, I think it's soccer is the other sport that you have that many people on the field at once, but everyone relies on each other to do a job, whether it's a receiver knowing that he's not going to get the ball, but he has to run as fast as he can to a spot on the field because it's going to pull like a safety out of there, and it'll open his buddy outside open because he did his job. So I think that's a great part about football that people need to realize. Even our own players still.
What makes a good football player?
Um, there's a few qualities I believe. I think one is toughness. Physically tough. We talked about working out, getting strong, and putting your body in position to be able to physically dominate the man across from you. And then second part of that is mentally tough. There's a lot of things that come up in a game or in practice or just through a season that your mind's got to be stronger than your body, because a lot of times your body will give up a lot faster than your mind. Number two, I think you got to be smart. Have the ability to process a lot of information in a split second because things happen fast on the field. Number three, like we talked about, you got to be selfless. The best teams are the teams that are the most selfless, I believe, and guys that are willing to put it on the line for the man to their left and right of them. And then number four, I think, you have to be resilient. You have to have the ability to, persevere through anything that could come up. It's never perfect. You go through a game, you look at situations that come up. There's a lot of like things that come up that create adversity, and just being a resilient, persevering through those times, or individually, like for our offensive linemen, what I know most about is, like, how am I going to get this guy blocked? He's giving me problems in this block the whole game, but you just keep persevering and finding a way to get it done. I think that's important.
So it'd be, to recap, physically tough, mentally tough, a good teammate, a good team player, and being resilient. Like Ollie was asking me, what is resilient? That's like, just never giving up, right? Hanging in there,
Yeah.
finding a way.
Yeah, always fighting, always like Dad said, never giving up, and then, the smart part of it, being smart, being a smart player is important as well.
Who are your favorite players?
That's a pretty easy one for me. I have an older brother who kind of, you know, he played a long time in the NFL, very successful. He was one, and then another guy that I grew up with, and we're still really close, is Olin Kreutz. Those are two of my favorite players. You know, just guys, great leaders, great teammates. You know, tough. I mean, they're those two guys. I mean, you look at them; they're the epitome of what a football player is. You know, and that's two guys that I was lucky enough that they're like, you know, Olin's like a brother to me, and you know, they're right there for me to look up to. So.
Yeah, Donovan, can you tell us, you know, you just mentioned two family members, two other legends. How does that feel to be part of like this uh, community, this legacy, this tradition, especially, you know, back in Hawaii?
You know, it's just, I always think about it. I just am blessed, you know, just lucky that that's how, you know, it is, you know, these are two guys, you know, Olin being the oldest of the three of us. He's about a year older than my brother, you know, just kind of, I mean, when you're, you know, when you're like under them, you know, or, you know, just guys that you look up to, you never want to let them down, you know, you just want to carry on that legacy. And that's kind of how we did it. You know, we knew, like, starting with Olin all the way down, like we knew like we were playing for things that were bigger than, you know, just a game, you know. So and you knew at the end of the day who you had to answer to, you know, and you never want to let those people down. So, and you know, being from Hawaii, you know, it's a small place, and you know, you feel like sometimes you carry the weight of the islands on your back, you know, because it's a small place, and you want people to know about it, you know. So that's huge.
Wow, awesome. All right, last one here. We usually end with something positive out there for the kids, positive message. So, you know, any advice out there for the kids who love football?
You know, I think what I've learned and just, you know, as I've gotten older through experience, is just always doing the right thing. You know, whether it's off the field, whether it's in your house, at home, you know, listening to your parents, you know, doing what's asked of you, in school, you know, being a good kid, you know, just doing the right thing. You know, as you get older, you realize what's right from wrong, and I think that's, if you do that in all aspects of your life, you know, whatever you want to do, you know, whether it's sports, all that stuff, it adds up. And when the more you do the right thing, good things happen to good people, you know. So I think that's as simple as can be, you know.
Well, thank you so much for your time. This was awesome. Big game tomorrow, right?
Yeah, little prime time Sunday night football.
Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah.
Just a regular Sunday afternoon for you.
Yeah.
Oh, Coach D, you know who the Bears are playing tomorrow? The Packers.
Oh.
Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, they're divisional rivals. They're always big, tough games.
Yeah.
So thank you for your time. Good luck tomorrow. And what else did you want to say?
Appreciate it, Ali.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Same to you. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Donnie.
All right. See you guys.